Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome everybody. We'll switch up our normal agenda. We have two representatives from the Town of Chatham Financial Planning and Economic Development Committee to give us a short presentation. So Patrick and Lisa are here tonight. I'll turn it over to you both.
Great, thanks, John. So I'm Pat Owens, this is Lisa Simonetti. We're members of the Town of Chatham newly formed Financial Planning and Economic Development Committee. And tonight we'd just like to share with you some of the results of our survey and findings and summarize our discussion with the town board last month. For those of you who are not familiar with what we do, we were formed in March 2025, primarily to survey the business community here in Chatham and nonprofit organizations, visitors and tourists, and to recommend solutions to meet the various unmet needs and goals of the surveyed businesses that could solidify Chatham and the neighborhood community's tax base. So tonight I'm just going to review the kind of an overview of our findings and also the recommendations we made to the town. Also note that our findings and the survey activity is really the first phase of the committee's activity. We'll be going back to the business community to talk to them a little bit more and have an ongoing discussion with the town and hopefully with the village on some of our recommendations, some of our findings. So in terms of the survey, we got a lot of information. For the sake of time, I will just summarize basically the broad strokes. So when we started in March of 2025, we identified about 119 different businesses across Chatham, and there was 90 for-profit businesses, 9 nonprofit organizations, and about 30 agricultural businesses, including towns. Recognizing that when we started this, it was a busy season for the farmers. We postponed surveying the farming community until January, so they could have time to conduct the survey. In terms of the response to the survey, we had a really good response. We had 42 out of 89 solicited. That represented 32 businesses, 8 nonprofit organizations, and 2 agricultural businesses. Chatham Berry Farm we consider an agricultural business. Overall, the response rate was really good. We had 40% in the business category and about, 88% in nonprofit category. And when you're looking at surveys, anything over like 30% is considered a good participation rate, which gives you a good solid basis in terms of the response rate to draw some conclusions about what people are thinking and how they're responding to the survey. In terms of the survey participants, we had a broad range of businesses. We note that 50% of those businesses were retail and restaurants, of those who responded, and 50% of the nonprofits were visual arts museums and performing arts, such as PS21, Shaker Museum, etc. In terms of the composition of the survey participants, we noted that over 75% of the business has been in business for over 8 years. So we think that underscores the perspective that we gained from the survey is useful to us. It's not someone who's just been in business for a year and has a lot of ideas. These are people who are really rooted in the community, who've been operating for a long time, and we think their opinions are valuable to us. Interesting for the village, the survey participants were located all through the town of Chatham, but more than half of the participants were located within the village. No surprise, right? In terms of what we learned, we asked the businesses a lot of different questions. What they thought about doing business in Chatham, what they thought were the opportunities, what they thought were the challenges. So we asked a basic question on a scale of 1 to 5. How would you rate, do you have a favorable view of doing business in Chatham? And the average score was 3.71 out of 5, and we thought that was pretty good. So all the businesses and nonprofit organizations that we surveyed had a generally favorable view of doing business in Chatham. We also asked them kind of what makes you proud to live in Chatham and to do business in Chatham. And they consistently, the survey respondents talked about Chatham's community spirit, its character as a small town or beautiful area, and they also noted Chatham's growing, I'd say, burgeoning reputation as a cultural hub. For example, some of the quotes we had, they like that it's a village with an established business district that draws potential audiences. The possibility of Chatham being a cultural destination, and it's a community that's very receptive. When we asked about the barriers, the businesses were not shy about what they thought were some of the big barriers. One was, no surprise, the high cost of housing and commercial space. A lot of businesses were concerned they didn't have sufficient customer traffic, and limited parking was an issue, and limited lodging. And that was consistent across many of the participants. And we'll get into some of the specifics, but I think there was issues about signage, limited labor pool, limited customers, and this came from various businesses. It wasn't just one group, it was across the board. The businesses were consistently cited some of those challenges. So in terms of the 5 major themes that emerged from this survey, one is the businesses felt they needed more municipal support and infrastructure for their businesses to thrive. That falls probably in the range of like parking and zoning. Affordable housing was definitely an issue. Some of the businesses also had learned from other communities around Columbia County and neighboring counties that were able to source financing support. A lot of the businesses wanted to see increased visibility for their businesses, including signage, some marketing to promote Chatham. All wanted more visitors, more customers. They wanted more residents to be frequenting their business establishments. And the 5th theme was, there a lot of businesses noted that there's an evolving, arts and culture sector that could be an opportunity to grow business and also to make the Chathams a really vital community. So the bottom line is the businesses are asking for active support from the town and village. What does that mean? We spent some time, culling all the answers, and we felt that, supporting our businesses and nonprofit organizations with some kind of thoughtful economic development plan would be essential to helping solidify the long-term tax base of the town and the village. And we think that an economic development plan would also increase opportunities for grants to support a number of these recommendations. So it's with a plan, there's opportunities to work with the Columbia Economic Development Corporation and some other state and local entities to help fund some of these initiatives. So we came up with 5 recommendations to the town board that we felt should be prioritized. I won't go into all the details. I'll just highlight some of the major ones. One is, in terms of municipal support and infrastructure, businesses, include, want to see more parking, signage, and perhaps a look at zoning guidelines. But the most important thing is, the business felt that we needed to revisit a parking study to identify parking expansion opportunities within the village. I believe the last parking study was conducted maybe about 10 years ago. So based on the survey responses, we may need to reassess current and future parking needs. So particularly with the museum, with a lot of other stores, new stores opening, we think that might be something to look into. The other thing that came up a lot was the need for directional signage to Main Street. Many felt that there were people coming off the Taconic on 203, on 295, if there were signs directing people to Main Street from those main thoroughfares would be helpful. No surprise, we really stressed to the board there, the need for affordable housing and lodging is important. The housing committee has been identifying affordable housing projects, and we thought that would be something that they need to continue to basically focus on targeting, worker housing is this goal. As you know, for many local businesses, finding and keeping employees is hard, particularly if they can't afford to live in the area that they work. And how that gets implemented is, to be discussed. The other thing is, we think a lot of the businesses really want to increase visibility. We thought developing partnerships with Columbia County Tourism and the neighboring communities for a unified Discover Chatham campaign that would highlight the arts, the dining, the shopping, and tourism across our town's website, social media, and perhaps a relaunched quarterly newsletter that the town of Chatham used to have.
Just this question, isn't that what CAB is supposed to be doing?
Well, CAB is a membership organization that helps bring those businesses together. This is more like a Chamber of Commerce kind of activity or an economic development officer activity, which is a little bit outside the scope of CABA. Now, what CABA does is CABA brings the businesses together, kind of promotes those businesses, but this is kind of taking it to another step. Because the businesses that are even members of CABA are giving us these observations. So whether it's something CABA can do, should do, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure they have the funding or the structure to do it. That's why they're looking to the town and the village. In terms of zoning, signage, parking, all of that, it's not really within their purview.
Well, just to give you a little oversight on signage, they had come to me personally.
Okay.
And I turned them on to Bill First, sign engineer for the state DOT.
Mm-hmm.
This was a year or so ago. They had the opportunity to work with Bill First. He said, I'll work with him, I'll get you signage.
Right.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're the ones, if they're asking for it, it was given to them, simple phone call. We're willing to do that. I'm a little concerned about another layer of bureaucracy here, quite frankly. And not to stop your presentation, but you've been in business for 9 months, and I get an email from one of your co-chairs that you're representing both the town and the village. I don't know when we made that commitment. It's been 9 months. This is the first we're hearing about representing the village.
That is not, we don't represent the village at all.
That's from your co-chair.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that too, and it really.
And it was at
upset
last
me.
month's meeting, not last week's meeting, the town board meeting, where the other co-chair, and I got it on video,
Okay.
said he's representing the village and the town, and I respect that. And I don't want to put a damper on anything, but I personally work very closely with Mike Tucker and a number of initiatives, and huge initiatives. They've been very cooperative. Bill Gerlach, the Chamber of Commerce, I can't do more. Columbia County Tourism. I don't know how many more layers we have to throw on this. And there was a request, or a balloon was floated, maybe finished with that, for the village to consider contributing towards an economic development coordinator. I'm personally opposed to that, because I think it's just redundant. I don't think we're in a position at this point, maybe we will be in a year or two, but we're in a process within the next few months of redoing our comprehensive plan. And I think it would be premature for us to jump onto something before our comprehensive plan is reviewed. That's number one. Number two, we do a lot to support the businesses in this community that I don't think the town realizes, to the tune of around $15,000 this year just to supply police protection so you can have festivals, Winterfest, Summerfest. We're committed to the business community. You won't find anybody besides me that will walk down the street every weekend and go in all the shops. So that's kind of my pitch. To hear this now, after a study's been done, that we had no input in. So quite frankly, I'd like to get a copy, if you could send me the information of the businesses you contacted, what the responses were. I'd like to see those.
And I think we have to work collaboratively in this event to, we didn't know anything about this.
Okay.
And I've been on CABA for years, I was the president for a year or two. I know a lot about it, we knew nothing about this, and I have to say, I was writing down while you were talking, we do a lot for our businesses. And we don't charge them anything. We work with them, we talk with them, we set it up sometimes so that with Joe, well, that's what's best for them and it's gonna work for the community. In order for something like this to succeed, we have to work collaboratively.
Absolutely.
And even the town of Ghent, I mean, where are they in this? Because they are part of the village of Chatham too.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, we've been working with Debbie fairly closely on this, so Debbie's been very aware of it, and she's actually socialized this with the membership. So both at the survey collection phase, and in terms of like, you know, again, you know, I think one thing that we are learning is that an initiative like this, however, whatever form it may take, can't be brushed with the village or the town. It needs to be, again, it needs to be something a little more comprehensive. And for one, in order that, in terms of consumers, visitors, tourists, you know, people come to the area, so there needs to be a commitment from the greater area in terms of, you know, holistic support of business. You know, this was, you know, the survey was intended just to basically take the temperature of businesses to find out what they were thinking. So, you know, this wasn't intended to map, you know, to predetermine anything in terms of what to expect or what to recommend. This is kind of, we collected the answers, right?
But we can help you take the temperature because we know our business.
Good, well, okay.
But not being included in that process kind of sets you back a little bit.
Okay.
I see your point on that, and we'll certainly.
It's not a good feel, quite frankly.
Good.
And like I say, we fund the Columbia County Economic Development Commission. Here we're gonna fund. I just talked to the mayor of Village of Kennewick today. I talked to Debbie Byron today. I know I've talked to a number of business owners within the last week or so. There's a lot of mixed emotions about that. When you get into zoning, that you're getting into the legislature. Our zoning takes into consideration our business areas, the historic overzone. I think there's a lot that we have here that a lot of people don't realize. 2/3 of the village is in the town of Ghent.
Right.
1/3 is in the town of Chatham. The bulk of our sales tax comes from the town of Ghent, regardless of the fact that the commercial district's here.
Right.
But most of our sales tax comes out of the town of Ghent. We judge and I do the budgets, what our sales tax looks like. It's been very robust. It goes up and down. We have a lot of initiatives coming down the road. I just talked to Claudia, had a one-on-one, actually, our clerk went with me, the Shaker Museum, the new executive director. Last week, we sat with her, working with them on doing a gala, which we'll talk about later. We're engaged all the way around. I cut the ribbon, helped cut the ribbon at the Crandall Theater. It was a $4 million project. We wrote letters of support for these projects, and we will continue to do that. And I want to be able to continue to collaborate, but I got to tell you, it just sets you back a little bit when I start to have, let me back up. The business I was in, I always told my employees and stuff, don't surprise me. We can work it out. But when I get surprised, it's a problem.
Well, I think number one, you know, we'll certainly take that back to, you know, Donnell and kind of, you know, let him make sure that he's aware of your feelings on this, because the sense I got, I mean, I'm new to this committee, was it's supposed to be broader and open and very transparent, and I'm hearing that feeling is that it wasn't, and that's a real problem for me.
And I don't think that's on Donnell, because I deal with Donnell on a daily basis.
Yeah,
He's a rock star.
And I don't think that there's any intent to blame, or
Yeah.
it seems like just the process was not set up in
I don't
the
believe so.
appropriate way from the get-go. And to the extent that there was a representation made that, you know, we were representing the village, I don't think it was meant
Maybe not.
in that way.
But when I'm handed this at the
Yeah.
same time as I get this, and I didn't have a lot of wiggle room, I was kind of pushed back a little bit. And that's not how I operate. I'm willing to work with anybody.
Okay.
And that's not, I'm not going to speak for the board can speak for themselves. Patrick, I'm sorry, if you want to.
No, I mean, we, you know, I mean, that's,
I think we were good on the presentation,
Yeah.
but we came with frankly the same idea that you've expressed, which is we all need to work together and collaborate. These towns are so interconnected, and we're so small, honestly, that it makes sense for us to work all together to try to lift up the entire area. And if we started in the wrong place, then we started in the wrong place. but we hope to have further conversations with you all.
Sure, this is not the end.
And, okay.
And sometimes a bump like this in the road is not a bad thing,
Right.
because you know where we stand. And that is one thing that I feel about this group, is we are pretty honest on how we feel, and if something isn't working for us, we'll question it more and say what we have to say. But yeah, we're a really collaborative group, and we work well with our community. And yeah, I read the same email, and I saw, because it's just not how I operate either.
Okay.
I like to work with people, you know?
I mean, this is, for us, this is a real learning process as well. We're discovering a lot of, just a lot about the business community, how everyone works with the business community, and I think what's going to happen will just be a continuing discovery process and bringing more stakeholders into this to see if, first of all, if the assessment is correct, if something needs to be done, getting all these voices at the table to figure out what needs to be done, what could be done, I don't know. So consider this step one, perhaps a step in terms of how it was.
And again, if I could get that information of who was polled and who responded with some of those results, I appreciate this. I've done Gantt charts and pie charts my whole life. I know about that stuff, but I'd like to see the responses. And if I could get a copy of that, because it means a lot to us. You said that over half of them were businesses in the village. That's important for me, for us to know where our weak spots are. And if you've already done some of that work, I'd appreciate receiving that.
See what we can do.
Before you go, we generally open up for public comment, because I know you're here, I know there's some business people here. Does anybody like to comment? And if it's just comments, we're not getting into a debate. It's not a question and answer period. Anybody like to comment?
I mean, I've spoken before. I'm Jeannie Bowerman. I have the 1811 Antique Shop on the circle. I've spoken before on the town level, and I think I've spoken with a lot of businesses, and just like you, John, I've heard mixed reviews, but most of them were like, they felt that it's our responsibility to promote our businesses. We can write off those expenses, as business expense. We aren't looking for the village or the town to supplement our PR efforts. But there's certain things like zoning and things that would attract light industry, that would attract people, that would also provide jobs for the community. Those kinds of things I'd like to see for economic development, but not promoting the existing businesses. More about attracting future businesses.
Okay. Anybody else? Comments? Hearing none? Yeah, okay.
Just briefly, Christy Ray, Concord Hill across the street. I think for me personally, what I would like to see is something that invests in the people of Chatham itself. I love New Yorkers. I will take their money as long as the day comes. But my locals are going to keep me in business. And that's what I need, a way to invest in people who live here, who work here, who go to school here, who want to come and shop on Main Street. And I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
And that's been a problem for a long, long time, Christy.
It's a big problem.
Yep, and you try to work with the schools and all kinds of other organizations, but it's just a tough one.
Yeah.
But it's good to bring it up again and talk about it, on CABA or with other groups. I mean, even bringing Santa to Main Street, and part of CABA is to support that, is to bring some of the local people to Main Street. Businesses have stayed open. That hasn't really worked either, but maybe there's some new idea if people want to talk about it again. But I think that we do work together in many ways we don't even think sometimes, so.
Yeah, we do a quarterly newsletter here in the village. We've been doing it for years. It goes out with water bills. They might throw them out, but the fact of the matter is we do, Desiree and Sam, God bless our clerk and deputy clerk, keep it fresh. So again, for the business community, if there's something they want to promote, we do that. We have an email blast that we have a database because we have 750 water accounts. So anybody's got a building or a business gets a newsletter. They get an email blast if they so desire. We have our website. We have our Facebook page, which Sam does a great job, and Desiree, keeping and the chief of police. So it might be a little unlike the town. It's something we can offer,
But how do we change the temperature of Main Street? I have friends and neighbors who say, Main Street's just for New Yorkers. We don't go down there. We don't shop on Main Street. There's nothing there for us. It's all for the tourists, it's all for the, and I hate to use the expression, the citizens who come down on the weekends.
Well, let's take a look at it, but this, like Melanie said, maybe it was a bump in the road, but maybe sometimes it irons itself out. So I appreciate
And
that.
still all work together, maybe voting it down the.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate
Thank you
it.
for this.
Thank you. Can you continue on? I mean, if you guys, you're here. We'll continue with public comment, and I think, is it Allison?
Yes,
Thank you. I know you had some concerns you wanted to bring up.
yes, thank you.
First of all, Allison, you don't know me.
No, hi.
Let me just start with, you're a rock star, doing what you do.
I know you must have
that.
gotten some of my emails, right?
I got all of them. But I appreciate the passion,
Thank you.
but on a personal note, what you're doing for the community needs to be recognized. I recognize that.
I appreciate
Okay.
that, thank you.
So, again, I know we've received a number of letters with your concerns. I don't want to go over those again. The board's all had an opportunity
Okay.
to look at those and digest them. Unless you have something to add to what you just put out the last time,
Okay.
something new.
Yeah, mostly I just wanted to point out some inconsistencies in the procedure of the planning board. We had a meeting on the 24th, at which it was a room full of people, probably like 50 plus people, all trying to ask questions about the poll that's going up. And we were repeatedly shot down. We were told we couldn't talk about the poll. It is on the application though, so, transmission structure is on the application, but we were told it's not on the application, we couldn't talk about it. So that was one main thing, complaint about the procedural conduct of the planning board. Most of the other information, you probably already have. We were told that it's in the existing footprints. It's not. It's in the new structure. Excuse me, it's a new structure. It's also, I'm confused about height variance in this town, because in this village, what I understood was that 40 feet was like the limit for in all the districts in the village, and that if it went over that, you had to apply for a height variance. So this is 35 feet over the accepted height variance.
So let me just stop there, because generally what we do with public comment, we just take a comment. We
I
don't
know.
do questions, but I'm going to cut you some slack here.
Thank you.
Right? Because I know you're passionate about this, and as are a number of other people, okay? I think there's some misconceptions. From a village standpoint, we as a village board cannot and will not overrule a planning board decision or a decision that our code enforcement officers made. There was some, verbiage or whatever wording that kind of took the code enforcement officer alluding to misconduct. We've looked at that. There is no misconduct. She's acted within the guidelines of the laws and the codes. Unfortunately, as a code enforcement officer, you have to make decisions that not everybody agrees with and not popular. So what I can offer you, and I don't know, because this is uncharted water for us. We haven't been down this road.
Right.
But I would not be one to say, beat it.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do to give you some direction. You may, and I say may, be able to appeal this to the zoning board of appeals. I don't have an answer for that. There's a lot of statutes out there that one contradicts another one. Because it's uncharted waters, I can't give you that, other than you may be able to appeal to the zoning board.
And that's after the decision's been made,
And it has been made, my understanding.
Oh, it has, oh. Okay.
Well, as it applied to the permit that was requested.
The permit, right,
Okay.
right.
So again, I would, and again, if the board wants to chime in, I would suggest if you seek legal counsel possibly. There's just so much we can do.
Yes.
And, many times, I sat on the zoning board of appeals many years ago. I don't know why I do this sometimes, but at the end of a decision, there's always somebody that's happy and somebody's not happy.
Yes,
And I recognize that.
yes,
But I'm not one to say, I'm not going to listen to you, or we're not going to listen to you.
right.
Okay, and when I say I don't mean we're all in this together.
Yes.
So that's what we can offer to you is again, because it's uncharted waters. I don't know where it could go, but
And I am happy to hear that you're looking at the comprehensive plan to review that.
Yeah, that's gonna take a while.
It's an old, it's old.
Well, it's 10 years old,
It's old,
and
yeah.
it should be
it's-
reviewed.
And so, yeah, one of my suggestions would be to maybe think about infrastructure and utility verbiage in that.
Yeah, we'll look.
It's a little, because I've been reading through the code and through the comprehensive plan, and it seems a little vague on, you know,
Okay.
what's structures, what's utility.
Well, when we get to that point, we will have public hearings, and you know what? Show up.
Okay,
You can be part of the process, okay?
okay.
Um,
So your suggestion would be to appeal today?
Yeah, and like I say, you may, I can't give you, that's the
Yeah, yeah,
direction you have, that's gonna be
yeah.
the cure-all, that's gonna solve your concerns,
Yeah,
but I'm not gonna turn, we're not gonna turn our back to you, and,
yeah.
you know, I'm just,
I just know there's industrial zones, right, for in village?
yeah, I'm not sure, I
Right.
can't drill down on that. And
Yeah,
I'm not gonna bug Aaron about that, but
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is, there's different zones, so.
yeah.
All
Okay,
right?
all right, well, I appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Anybody, got anything else? No? Okay, thank you, Allison, hey, have a good holiday. All right, we'll move on. Anybody else with public comment, I'm sorry? Hearing none, we'll move on to department reports. We'll start with the building, Aaron.
Yes, so for New York State, as of 11/19, that fulfills all in-service training requirements for 2025, required to maintain active status for the January 1st to December 31st, of 2026. 5 residential permits were issued, 1 commercial planning zoning board permit issued, 2 new complaints were received, 1 that was ongoing. The application before the planning board has been remedied, the permits issued. 3 title searches, 8 COCCs, all residential, no commercial. 5 permit inspections completed, 2 complaint inspections, and 1,225 payments have been received.
Thank you. Any questions for Aaron? Hearing none, we'll move on to the police department, Chief Alessi.
Community events, so we had Turkey Trot in November, the interface service that we provide security for, Santa's visit that we assisted the fire department with, and then we were down at Hudson Winter Walk, Hudson PD borrowed our barriers for the first time for their event. Staffing, I visited Columbia Green Community College for the Zone 14 to talk with the current class in there. It was a positive visit. We've got 3 applications for recruits that are looking to come up to Chatham. So we'll be processing them through and then doing interviews. Most likely we'll probably have something on the board for next month to possibly hire 1 or 2 of them, depending on how interviews go. Mandatory training has been scheduled. These are the in-person trainings, use of force, first aid, stuff like that that we don't do online. That's the resolution. We'll talk about that later. It's a resolution. And as you may have seen, the department received their accreditation officially. We were recognized on December 4th by the New York State Law Enforcement Accreditation Program at DCJS, and we're accredited for 5 years, and then we'll go through reaccreditation at that time. The other thing I have is, which, you know, for the sake of time, I'll probably table it. We can talk about it next time. But just start thinking. There's a Flock Safe City initiative. I provide some information on there. This would provide the village with some cameras, both video and LPR, to enhance some of the safety. We've had a number of incidents throughout the last couple of years, that, we always looking for video, trying to find video, where'd this go, where'd that go. This is more of a full comprehensive look and kind of covering all inbound, outbound traffic into the village and maybe some of those hot spots. And then also with that, drone as a first responder, which again, we'll talk about more next month. when we've got a little bit more time. And that is what I have, other than I've got the alarm system and Lexipol that we'll talk about during resolutions. Numbers are attached.
Thanks, Joe. I want to take a moment to talk about the accreditation. There was a number of us had the honor to go up there. Pete, Trish, Desiree, and Sam, because I wanted the office staff, administrative staff to be part of this, which was a little unique. There was a lot of heavy hitters in that room, from the city of Troy, to the city of Kingston, the Newcastle Police Department, Putnam County, Erie County. They were all receiving awards. It was a very, very impressive program. Chatham was the first one up. We're proud. They're the only part-time police force in New York State to be accredited. The only one to be accredited. That's a big deal. Thank you. If you want to add anything to it, but there's only like 32% of the 500.
Yes, yep, 32% of the 500 law enforcement agencies in New York are accredited. It basically sets us at sets a higher standard for Chatham Police and ensures that there's outside auditors looking at that higher standard, that we're maintaining it consistently. Also, I want to thank Sergeant John Myers. He did a lot of the legwork to ensure that the process was put together, so that when the accreditors came down here for those 3 days, that they had all the information they needed to make an assessment on how we're doing.
Another goal for transparency. You can't be any more open than having somebody looking at you day in and day out. So it's huge. It's huge. So thank you. Chief Barnes.
Fire department, quick and easy, everybody's got a copy of the report. Alarms were average this month. Thankfully, we did have 3 structure fires that we responded to this month. Fortunately, unfortunately, none were in the village. 1 was in Ghent and 2 were in the town of Chatham in the Tri-Village district. We, of recent, I'll say since fall, we've seen an uptick in requests for the village department to be responding out into the town of Chatham area. A little higher than average compared to the previous 5 years. It's just something else I'll have to pay attention to see if it's an anomaly or if it continues, but it may be something we have to monitor for response purposes. Part of the reason is the village department is pretty robust right now. We're doing very well. We're getting apparatus off the floor in 2 to 3 minutes, and we're averaging around 18 members on those first 3 trucks out. So I think when you're doing well like that, the other surrounding departments recognize it and tend to call for that help, knowing that. So that might be part of the issue or a reason. But we're always glad to go outside the village and help if needed. In the report, I did mention all of our SCBA packs have been tested and they're back in good working order. We lost one bottle due to testing. That's been replaced. This February, late January, early February, all of the breathing packs, the SCBA packs themselves, will be tested. And then in one of the recent fires, we did have a thermal imaging camera. We have 3 main, very expensive cameras. Without getting into weeds, it's a tool that we use to be able to find people in a fire. We had one that appears to have suffered some damage. We're working on seeing if we're getting it repaired. But I have started requesting quotes for a replacement camera. Looks like it's going to run about $3,000 to $4,000. So we've started writing grants for that. We sent in for 2 grants this week to see if we can get grant money. Because they're not cheap, but they're a very necessary tool. The brush truck, the new brush truck, I won't beat that down, but the truck's in hand. We do have it here in the village over the next 3 to 4 months. Assistant Chiefs Genevieve and Silva are heading this up. They're doing a phenomenal job. in the process, as the fire commissioner knows, by doing it in-house, and piecing this together instead of just, fire truck, you can't just go down to the Ford dealership and buy it off the lot. They don't work that way. But by piecing it together, we're gonna save the village, probably around $80,000 by the end. We're hopeful that this new truck will be in service by springtime, and that will replace the old 1998 brush truck that we're currently using. And that truck's doesn't owe us a dime. It's run a lot of calls since 1998. The station I'll leave to Ralph if he wants to discuss anything. Membership, we took in 2 new members again this month, so that's 4 in the last 2 to 3 months. And we just signed up 3 new members to go to fire school. That's a 130-hour school that they have to go through. And I think that's about the highlights.
Can I just say something?
Sure, absolutely.
So yeah, I was able to go to a meeting this month. I haven't been in a while because I've been on the road, but I was really, really impressed there. There was like a lot of new people there, and we need that, it's growing. A lot of really good energy. Even talking to Phil about that brush truck, man, he has it all in hand, and I just love that they're willing to save us money, and do a good job in the meantime. But even you, I think you're doing a really good job as being the chief and teaching the, I hate to say the younger folks how to do their job. You're giving them responsibilities, you're putting them out there, and they're really producing for you, and I think it's really, really awesome. So
Morale's
thanks.
really good right now.
Yeah, I could feel it just going into the room. Yep.
Thanks, Mel. Ralph, you want to comment on public safety really briefly? Ralph's done a lot of nice work. I'm not sure where we're going to end up, but we just keep drawing pictures, right?
The paper's cheap. I've been refining the floor plans based on some site constraints. As we start looking at sites, basically what I do is I get a drawing for the site, start putting the floor plans on there and making configuration changes. So as we look at more sites, I'll keep configuring the building to fit it. At a certain point, we'll basically, like at school, they tell you put the pencils down. At a certain point, we're going to have to get serious about what sites we're visiting and see what's really going to work for the fire station in the best configuration. Because like I said, I can draw and draw and draw until my heart's content, but eventually we really need to get to a serious site where we can really put our pencils on that and say, this is the one that works the best for us. And I'll keep feeding drawings to the police and to the fire department. I gave you 3 sets so you can get Phil and Andy a set. But basically, it's just going to come down now to finding the sites. I'm looking at one site, and if we get a couple more on there, I can basically narrow down the focus into the actual, what the building should look like and how big the building's going to be and how expensive this is going to be. But I think we're moving along. I've had a lot of good meetings with the chiefs, both the fire and the police, and so I've got I think, a really good handle on what they need, and it's just a matter of figuring out where we can put it.
So what is next? Like, how do we move this along?
We've had 3 meetings with the site owner, potential site owner, and while I was cautiously optimistic, I'm not as optimistic now. And I think what Ralph has done is he's done what I would consider the final drawing for this site. We'll make another pitch to this person, and whether it works or doesn't work, and then we'll move on from there to it could be the site we're on right now. We haven't decided that, but we just had the firehouse surveyed, so we have a real good idea instead of throwing darts at what's out there.
Right.
So we prepared ourselves by having a survey to know if it goes to that site that Ralph knows, here's the goalpost. And so we'll go from there. We're all, we want action-oriented people, but baby steps, but we're having to stop moving. So Ralph has just done another set of drawings, and I hope within the next week or so we'll make that final pitch. for this particular site. And if they buy into it, fine. If they don't, we're gonna move on quickly. Okay? Any other questions? Thanks, Rob. DPW, I don't, Des, did we get anything from Phil?
No.
Man, he's been, I'll tell you, he's been busy chasing this new truck. They did a snowstorm, just a little bit of FYI, I think we talked about it back in the fall, but the DOT is strapped for manpower. They didn't clean Main Street this time. They gave us a heads up back in September that they weren't sure if they could, and if they did, it would be major storms possibly, and some of which we would have to participate in. It was 4 to 6 inches of snow. You know, it kind of got beat down, and that's, unfortunately, it could be what's going to happen this winter is where they used to do the post-storm cleanup. They gave us pretty much a heads up that they don't have the personnel to do it. And they proved that when they drove their snowplow right out into the circle out here and beached it on one of those rocks.
Oh, jeez.
And I don't know how they could do it, because if that guy's driving a snowplow, I don't want to be on the road with him, because it's almost impossible to do it. But that's aside, Phil took care of that, and you can imagine that phone call. But I can tell you, the DOT was here this morning straightening it out. So I didn't go any further, it just says they took care of it. You know, leaf pickup went as expected, and it's over with, obviously, and they did a good job getting the Christmas decorations up between the snow. And having said that, I want to thank Trish and Desiree for doing the building here. You know, and Phil set the guys up, and it was a group effort, but Desiree and Trish did a wonderful job putting this building together, so I want to thank them for that. All right, we'll move on. I need a motion to approve the minutes of November 10th.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
I need a motion to approve the November budget actuals. In a second.
Second.
We'll move to new business, resolution 177 to approve a promotion for Bowden Palladino from part-time labor to full-time labor at a current rate of $21.28 an hour, effective immediately. Can I get a motion? In a second.
Second.
This kid's working out great.
Great.
And what really sets the tone is he comes to work every day, on time. And that has been a challenge.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 178 to approve the December 8th amendment, adding wording for the Hudson Valley Rail Trail section to April 14, 2025. Previously approved list of approved sidewalks which are adjacent to property of the village CSX or the state of New York and shall be cleared of snow and ice by the DPW. And you can see the list there. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
In a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Can I did send out potential of,
Yes.
because of that wall
Yeah.
that's there.
We, I don't know whether we put that on to talk to,
Discussion, but.
Yeah.
under discussion. We had some conversation with Phil, so we're gonna hold off putting that on our approved list, and I'll talk about it a little bit later.
Okay,
And actually, maybe you'll talk about it.
okay.
Resolution 128, to authorize Chatham PD to purchase Linstar Security Vista Alarm Panel Wireless System for the Tracy Memorial, a total amount of $2,750.40.
John, I think you might have skipped.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. 179.
I'm sorry.
Went right through the whole page.
I did. What do you think? I want to get out of here. I'm sorry. I do that. Thank you, Desiree. 179 to approve the December 3rd written request submitted by Sanford W. Smith to accept David Wadley as a new member. Can I get a motion? Motion in a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 180 to approve the December 3rd written request submitted by Ocean for Timothy Eglin as a new member of the Chatham Fire Department. Motion
Motion.
in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 181 to amend the budget for the use of unappropriated fund balance to reflect an increase in the sewer fund treatment contractual line. And you can see all the whereases. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
In a second.
Second.
And what that does, that should just about, Trish, help me out with this, that UV project, is this about the end of it, do you think?
It's covering all those invoices for Novella,
Okay,
so hopefully we're near the end of it.
okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 182 to authorize Chatham CPD to purchase the Linstar Security. Can I get a motion? In a second. Joe, you want to describe that?
Yeah, so it's putting an alarm system on the police department side, both in our property room as well as in our office. And then on top of that, it includes panic buttons for the office staff on this side of the hallway. Again, with an increase in challenges with some residents, as an added level of comfort for the staff here, having those panic buttons so that they can get help. So that includes all the monitoring, it's 24/7 monitoring by an outside company. I did throw on here, which can pull it off later on. I did throw on here one smoke and fire detector because this building doesn't have one in it. I don't know if we want to include that or not, but it is on the quote. It's not an actual alarm panel, but it would trigger so that by the time the building burned down, we might know about it. But we can obviously remove that item. I just had her throw it on there so I knew how much it costs.
Budget-wise, I know I talked to Desiree quick. We'll work it out between.
Yep, so I can carry this for the year, and then talking with Desiree, the monitoring service, which this includes a year of, is $29 a month, and in next budget season, we will just work it out to ensure that each department shares their portion of that.
Any questions? How many alarm buttons are there?
I've got 3.
One from my desk?
I'll give him one.
You're getting that.
Because you're gonna be running over here all the time. Be like stewards.
Get you a pendant? You want a pendant? I'll get you a pendant.
All in favor?
Aye.
183, to authorize the clerk to hire temporary part-time clerical staff at a minimum wage rate for the purpose of assisting digitizing of records effective immediately. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
There's been some discussion amongst the office staff. They just can't get to doing this digitizing and bringing some school kids in or school-aged individuals. Actually, Aaron's college son could do some of it over Christmas vacation, whatever. But this will be an ongoing process, and it'll free those folks up from saying, hey, we gotta get to that, and they never do. So it gives the kids an opportunity to get a little Christmas money. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 184, to authorize CPD to enter an agreement with Lexipol for grant writer tier 1 assistance program, annual fee of $7,500. See the bill, it's a 2-year commitment. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Joe, you just want to explain that, please?
Yep, so Lexipol, which is also our policy program that we get our policies from, they have grant writers and a grant database. So what this does is give us access to their database. We'll have our own personal grant writer that will assist with 2 grants a year that they will write and submit on our behalf, as well as they will review applications that we want to submit. So it's, some of the grant writing that I've done, that Chief's done, will, kind of help us out, making sure that language meets it, as well as they will look at the list of all those grants, and when you say, like, we're looking for emergency services building, that's also an emergency shelter, they take all that stuff together and say, oh, did you think about these other grants here? So they will help us filter down to find that money. And they've had success, local to us, East Greenbush, they utilized them and got money for their police department, for their new building. So, for the price of it, I think we'll be successful in at least covering our cost, if not more.
Well, I want to say, when I read this and saw the proposal, this is a really good deal. I mean, I work with a grant writer at work, and let me tell you, it's a lot more money than this. And for them to say they're going to write 2 full grants for you a year, that's an amazing price. I was really surprised.
Yeah. And then that obviously, the access to the database is the other big thing.
Right,
for
then
both
you
the-
can be looking, and it's
Yeah.
handy to have that person too to steer you in ways that you might not have even thought of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Funding for this, I don't have the resources in my budget to cover this. I am asking to possibly either utilize some of that money we set aside for the emergency services building or unappropriated funds,
Yeah, we'll sit down with
or
Trish.
whatever
We'll work
fund,
that
yeah.
out. and then we'll make sure we budget it for next year. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
185, to rescind certain non-conforming reserve allocations of March 9, 2022. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. The original reserves were not set up properly, and we had been using it. This is a housekeeping item. The numbers aren't going to change, but instead of having these 3 reserves out there, it's being put into the unappropriated fund balance. Correct me if I'm wrong, Trish?
What's that?
This money's being put into the unappropriated fund balance,
Right.
and it still can be used by resolution.
Yeah, I was talking earlier with Des too. I'd like to maybe, so we didn't have to rush this meeting, but maybe assign it at the next one
Okay.
with the board.
Right.
And so that, and I'd actually like to ask the department heads if whatever's left over in that certain reserve, you know, if that's, would cover what they're thinking of, or if
We have to
they
add
need
more
more
to
or
it.
less.
Right,
or-
okay. And we'll make that, assigned unappropriate. Okay, but we'll do that next month.
Right.
So this is a housekeeping item for now. So I got a motion and a second. All in favor? Resolution 186, to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement between the Village of Chatham and Columbia County Management MIS for technical services billed at the rate of $75 an hour, which is the same as what we're charged now, and a minimum of 4 hours and then 15-minute increments thereafter. It hasn't changed. Well, that's to cover emergency call-ins. That's an addition. We don't have coverage for emergency call-ins. It doesn't sound like it's something that would happen, but I've lived in the business, whereas we have a big storm, we're here for 2 days, at night something goes wrong, they would cover that emergency call-in. So I think that's money well spent. We're not spending anything until we use it. So can I get a motion?
Motion.
In a second. All in favor? Items for discussion, we talked about the Police Accreditation Award Program. Erin spoke in her report, and she's recognizes officer certification for 2025 in-service training requirements. I know some people aren't here now, but the fact of the matter is she goes through an extensive training annually and has to be certified by the state. And good job again, Erin, as you do every day. Lobella Services for Court Window Replacement Grant Application. This is kind of an 11th hour thing. The town court, who we leased the building upstairs to. Last year, Joan, the court clerk, through New York State courts, applied for a grant to replace, I think it was 5 or 6 windows. The windows are they're old, and with energy efficient windows. She got approval last year for $30,000. I think we chipped in a little bit to finish the project. Because it's a historic building on the registry, it has to be reviewed by SHPO, State Historic Preservation. They reviewed it last year, absolutely no problems. She reapplied for the grant this year for 6 more windows for $30,000. The SHPO says you need to do a comprehensive architectural study on the windows. Well, it's like, well, wait a minute. It's $30,000. And you approved it last year. So she wants, she's like, what do I do? So quick, I got a hold of LaBelle's, our engineering firm, talked to the engineer that we generally deal with, Ted Donner, and they're willing to come in, and they don't have to do a full-blown, they deal with SHIP all the time, they don't have to do a full-blown engineering study, but there has to be, I don't know what he calls it, and Ralph can help me out here, some sort of a study, not to exceed $7,500 to kind of get over this hurdle. If we chose not to do it, the grant goes away. At some point, if we apply for grant money, we'd have to do it anyhow. So, I think we'll find the money. The town's willing to put that out there. If they pay us our rent, I think it's the least we can do. Ralph, you looked at the proposal.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. It was very well designed to get to the point quickly and just do the work. SHPO's just, they're looking at a proposal for replacement windows, so they just want to justify that the windows fit the context of the building. So I don't think there should be an issue because we did 6 windows last year, so you would think it'd just be, same windows, same proposal, But apparently there's someone in Schiphol decided that they needed an architect in there to justify that these windows meet the criteria. So we're gonna pay some money to have an architect come in here, justify the windows, and hopefully we'll get the grant and get the windows in.
Can I, actually, maybe I should entertain a motion, because we're doing this kind of in concert with the town, but can I get a motion to expend not to exceed $7,500 for an engineering study for replacement windows?
Motion.
In a second.
Second.
You good with that, Des? All in favor?
Aye.
The next item, last week I got an email, a phone call actually, from the new executive director of the Shaker Museum. She wanted to do a meet and greet and give us a tour. Desiree went with me. It was pretty impressive up on Jones Avenue. Their facility up there, it's a work in progress, they're still moving in. It was very interesting. I know Jeannie, she mentioned you.
Yes.
She was going to meet you, you were there Wednesday.
Yeah.
Claudia's very nice.
She is.
She's very energetic. She's got an idea. She wanted to float it by us, the village, before she'd even pursue it any further, but she wants to they do a gala every year at the Shaker Museum. It's generally in somebody's yard, one of the donors, and it's private and a fundraiser. She'd like to do something here in the village, and her quick proposal was to close Austin Street between the railroad tracks and the end of the Shaker Museum there, using their parking lot sometime in July. They're not set on a date, and she says if this is a non-starter, they'll just move on to someplace else. The other thought was River Street. I thought maybe Austin Street would be easier to manage, and there's a discussion we'll have with Joe. And we bounced some things off of her, and she bounced things off of us. I didn't think it was appropriate for the village to close the street for a private application. Out of that came, well, why don't we do this? We'll open it to the public. You know, it'll be a certain period that'll be private. They'll open it to the public at barbecue, cocktails, whatever, which I thought would probably be a good idea. But I like a barbecue and cocktails. But the point being is, it's a perception thing, and I understand it, and there's a cost to supply police to close the street off and stuff like that. I don't think we have to make a motion or anything, but if this is a non-starter, well, I just tell her. She said, we'll pick up and we'll go. I said, the fact that this is a work in progress, it is going to, Chatham Village is going to be their home. It might be a good time to get people together type of thing. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, me too.
You know,
when in the summer?
No, she was kind of leaning on us a little bit because I said, we have Summerfest. So we're going to close the street. Generally, that's a Saturday after 4th of July. Yes? Generally, yeah. And then I said, you really don't want to do it the following week because, you know, I don't want to make people angry. You know, you're going to do it on a Saturday or a Sunday. That's all open, but I think she just wanted to know, look, if this is a hard no, they have time to go figure this out somewhere.
Yeah. Why not do it the same weekend? Do it the same Saturday? Would that be too much? I mean, just.
I couldn't get to my shop.
Oh, here we go.
But you've got like thousands of people here already.
That's a thought. But
You want traffic, you're already paying.
let me, no, we'll make this a big party.
Make it a big party. Big Summerfest village. Yeah, Summerfest of really big.
So what I'll do is I'll just we'll reach out to Claudia and say, look, we had a conversation, give us some details. Because there'll have to be an approval process, a formal approval process, and I want Joe to be part
The
of it.
same weekend wouldn't work.
I
can't, no, and the only reason the state DOT won't approve the road closure without a detour.
Yeah.
And without Austin Street, I don't have a detour, so
Yeah.
they wouldn't allow me to shut down Hudson or Main Street.
And River Street still might be the way to go. I just thought from logistically, the Austin Street's a little wider and it's at the parking lot. They thought about putting a caterer in the parking lot, tents, that type of thing, and they were gonna have entertainment, whatever.
The singers coming out of the window.
Singers coming out of the windows. Desiree actually was the one that said maybe you should open it up to the public. So,
That means shaker songs.
I don't
Shaker food.
know. So unless there's anything to add to that, then reach out to Claudia tomorrow, just let her know we had this conversation and try to get more detailed down.
Can I?
Sure.
I was just thinking that the food vendors that are paying for permits to be on Main Street that day, if they're giving food away, would that be a problem?
Well, I don't think we're gonna do it at the same time as Summerfest, so.
But yeah. Free food versus paid.
You know, we kind of looked at the Paint Amy Church closed off High Street for.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
For a street fair, but it's open for the public, it wasn't a shutdown. You know, so it's not unprecedented, we haven't done something like this, it's just, I don't think it's appropriate to close a street for a private lockdown party. That's just not a good one.
And also, John, I think that making it a public event too would help people understand what's going on. I get a lot of questions of what's happening with the museum. I don't know, you know. You can see what's happening, but it would really help.
You don't see me running in and out of that construction trailer howling at the guys, do you? No. I'll tell you about that sometime. We brought up this, adding Harlem Valley Rail Trail to our list of sidewalks we maintain. Since then, we received a complaint regarding the sidewalk on Center Street that goes from the blue plate down to the next residence. That borders on 3 properties on Kennewick Street. So technically, they're responsible to clean their 40 or 50 feet. There's a 20-foot retaining wall. It just never happens. So the question is, should we add that to our list that Phil maintains? We called Phil this morning, and he was like, oh, and it's like, I think we'll hold that discussion till Phil can be here and advocate for himself, because I'm not gonna do it. Because he had some good points about the only way they can do it, they have to go over somebody else's property. Then he suggested doing Center Street from Brookside Avenue all the way up to the blue plate. Well, now we're gonna open it up to everybody in the village is gonna walk the sidewalk on it. So I'm just bringing it up because we did get a complaint. Aaron tomorrow send a letter to the property owners adjacent to that, because they may not be aware.
No, so I was thinking, it's their backyard, and they have to literally walk all the way around and then figure out where their property started and ended, or the 3 of them just get together and clear it together.
So-
But yeah, there is like a 12-foot wall back
So
there.
just to meet the code at this particular
Yeah.
time, because it's not on our list, just send them a letter,
Okay.
FYI. I don't expect, well, it's
Yeah.
probably clean now, but
Yeah,
we're gonna have
right.
this issue again.
Yeah.
So, and then next month, we'll put it on our list and put it on the list.
Yeah, but I can see why they wouldn't realize it, especially if they're new to the.
I would rather have it all shoveled and plowed than pick up leaves and do our annual drop off your junk stuff.
Okay. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know,
In
it's something we can talk about.
years,
I
it's
know
the
FEMA
first
does it, they have a contract. that they
No, it's a
do.
problem every year,
So,
but
the company
I just-
does it.
was it
It's
recently
been
going
on
down there?
every time it
was
snows
amazing,
every year, we have
walking
this
out and
conversation.
realizing
Yeah.
that there is a huge wall, and
But let's talk
there's
about it.
3,
Yeah. I see that more
at least
with
3
the
of them
safety
that,
thing that
you
they're
know,
gonna
their
put in
backyard
there.
is this huge
Yeah.
drop, so they
Having
can't
a
just
free
walk out
place
the
to
backyard.
crawl
They
crap.
should-
There's this opportunity where Phil's got some time
But
now,
yeah, it's always an
here
issue
now,
right there.
crunch the numbers,
Yeah.
see what it'll cost us, and go from there.
Yeah. I did see that on somebody on High Street coming up at about 8:30 to get the leaves, and then 9:15 they were plowing. It was pretty funny.
Hurry up.
And then Bjorn was,
It's
I
5.
think,
It's Phil, Corey,
Alex.
Alex, Kyle, and Bo. And he had put money in his budget, actually, we're paying Bowden minimal. The only thing Bowden's getting over what he gets now is accruals. Nothing's really changed other than now he's permanent, he gets accruals. He has an opportunity for health insurance, but he doesn't need it. So really nothing's changed, the pay's the same. He's really working out, Jimmy Dorado's part-time. And they're knocking it out of the park. The guys are doing a good job. And they're not kicking stones, they're not spitting at each other. It's so far it's working.
That's great.
Last public comment period. Anybody from the public that would like to address the board?
I just want to ask the chief a question about the security system. Do you guys ever have plans for like a camera, the security camera facing the circle? Because there's so many times I get a call from a state trooper or something, ask me, because I have exterior cameras at the shop. I can't catch the circle though, and I didn't know if you guys ever had a plan for that.
So there is a camera out front,
Yeah.
but we trigger on motion and we don't trigger in the circle because of the number of cars that go through. It would be almost impossible to keep track of that traffic. Yeah. The plan I talked about, that flock plan, the
Yeah.
flock safe city, would cover issues like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I ever add a camera that faces the circle, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Anybody else?
One other quick question.
Sure.
What is this building that Ralph is designing for?
Public safety building, to replace the firehouse. This discussion's been going on, well, it's been going on for years, but we committed to it a few months ago. We haven't committed to anything because it's going to be a considerable expense. But Ralph is donating his time to do the preliminary architectural work, to give us an idea of where, how big, and then we'll figure out how much. And then we'll open it up to public hearings and public meetings. It's open to the public now. It's not a secret.
A public safety building as opposed to
Yeah,
what's
it would be
firehouse
it'd
that's-
be a combination firehouse police station. So they'd be in one building.
He wants to get away from those buzzers that you put in.
Yeah, they won't be running over here. But there's a number of reasons for that. And you know, the world we live in, number one is grants. When you bundle your money, when they're shown shared services, a fire station can put in for a grant, a police station can put in for a grant, but when they put in together, you go to the top of the list type of thing. So Lord knows how we're going to fund it, and obviously that's a big question. But we have some ideas, and when we get closer and hard fast numbers, we'll have to go out and chase that. They've traveled to a number of fire stations in Columbia and Greene County, and across the state, new ones, older ones, to get some of a flavor for the direction. What a lot of people don't realize is a fire station is considered an essential building. It's a different building code. I could build a garage to put 6 dump trucks in for considerably less than I could build a garage to put 6 fire trucks in. And then you get into prevailing wages and everything. It's crazy. But the fire station's 52 years old. We had a condition report done on it 3 or 4 years ago. It's the point of no return. We can put money in it and get another 5 years out of it and go down this road again. Or we can take that money and spend it better, start it fresh. So that's the mindset. Okay?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
In a second. Everybody have a good holiday. Thank you.
You too.